Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Phil Risher, and on today's episode, we're talking to Kevin McCarthy about how he grew his home service business from $1.3 million to $2.3 million in 1 year. Thanks so much for joining us today, Kevin.
Thanks for having me, buddy.
Yeah, for sure. So Kevin is one of our near and dear clients, and amazing story over the past couple of years. He's just really transformed his business. And I was like, hey, man, can you come on so we can dissect what you've been doing? And I'm excited this conversation. So with that, Kevin, could you give us a quick bio, your company, where you're at, how you kind of got into this space?
Sure. So I'm Kevin. I own Legacy Wardrobes and Closets. We're a closet company in Philadelphia, and we really kind of specialize in wardrobes and closets and home storage solutions. And we've been operating this kind of iteration of the business for 5 years now.
Wow. Okay, awesome. So when we met probably about maybe almost a year and a half ago in your business, I feel like it was a transformational time. Can you talk about like getting up to $1 million and how you got to $1 million and then what changed once you hit $1 million and like started to go over the next thing? Were there certain things that got you to 1 million and then changed and then got you to the next thing?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we could go back to basically, I started out a long time ago as just a trade guy. So kind of like by necessity, started working for myself, and it's kind of a little bit of the old story. Like, um, I had a full time job, but I was doing side jobs on the weekend and making things and working at night, and I had a wife and a little kid, and needed to make money, and I couldn't make enough money being an employee somewhere at
Mm,
that time.
yeah.
Really, just regular trade guy, so
Yeah.
it was kind of difficult for me. So I kind of struck out on my own and was just like a solo entrepreneur, I guess, not really knowing I was an
Yeah.
entrepreneur. Really, just kind of
Yeah.
I just had to work and make money.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
so that's what I was doing. Um, and I did that for a long time. Kind of beat my head against the wall for a long time. Got through stages where I hired a couple helpers and kind of scaled up a little bit, but fell right back down to just working for myself. Did that a few times.
Mm,
And before we kind of crossed that $1 million range, the year before, I actually hired, I realized what I was doing was unsustainable. And I was never going to get out of that grind
yes.
and get to where I wanted to be. So I hired a business coach
Mm,
that taught me things like what gross profit was, which I had no idea.
yeah.
I kind of came from the mindset was, like, oh, I don't have enough money in my bank account. I better go work more and
Yeah.
put some more hours in to try to get some more money. That's kind of like where I came from. So hired a business coach and started learning how to be a business guy.
Yeah. So what were some of the biggest glaring things? Like obviously like looking at your P&L, but like when I met you 18 months ago, I think you were on the phones doing the estimates, kind of like running the shop and all this stuff. Did the business coach say like, hey, you need to buy back your time and do these things? Were there specific things that you did, or how did you know when to do things?
Yeah, totally. So I started learning about that. I started learning about what it was going to take for me to kind of reach my goals. I mean, I actually had to like make goals. I didn't even really have goals. I didn't even know where I was going,
Right.
at
Yeah.
all. It's just so we started doing that. We started actually setting goals and making aims and seeing what we were going to work towards and what we needed to do in order um, to meet those goals. And that was a pretty big game changer for me. And yeah, when we first met, I was doing everything. Actually, I think I think you were probably doing a lot more back then too, because I remember a day
Yeah.
of frustration dealing with an SEO company and looking you up and calling you, and you answered the phone.
Yeah, exactly. And this is the thing I think for people listening to this is like, if you're around $1 million, like that's where we were at too. It's like, it's okay. You're still in doing all this stuff. And but then you have to buy back your time and it's not scalable at 2 million, at $3 million. And you have to release those things to allow yourself to scale the business. And
Yeah,
yeah, I remember that was a Friday. I was driving. You called me. I answered the phone. Like, let's hop on a call, dude. And then like, it's like, yeah, this makes sense. Let's work together. It's funny. And another thing I want to call out is like, if someone is listening to this and you don't have any goals, like I can't tell you, Kevin, how many times we get on a call and it's like, okay, what's your goal for this year to grow? And they're like, 20%. It's like, okay, I vividly remember with you, you were like, yeah, I want to grow this amount, but I know that I need this many estimates in order to get there. So you had like broken it down from just like, it's not just 20%, it's like a dollar amount and this is how many estimates I need if I do this close rate. And there's a level to like getting very specific on your goals because that will illuminate what you need to do in the business. I think that was helpful for you from what I know.
yeah, for sure. And that kind of came from my business coach. I mean, we started like, I started learning about like EOS and different frameworks like that. So I started reading a lot, started really educating myself and realizing that goal setting and all of that was really important. And it's funny because we still, it's like simple, but really complicated. And
Yeah.
so we still work on that, and we're still like day to day kind of trying to dial in those numbers and understand our numbers as deeply as possible. That's kind of what we're into these days.
Yeah. So to make the jump, so you were at 1.3 ish, and then now you did 2.3 million. That was like in 1 year over year type of jump. What were the biggest things, if you were to distill it down to maybe like two or three things that were like, this were big unlocks for us? Was it hiring people? Was it managing this number? Was it doing the sales system? What would you say were some of those big things?
I mean, I think for me, because of my background, I think my ego was really tied up into the business and what we do. I saw myself as a craftsman. I kind of dressed like a craftsman. It was my identity in a
Mm,
lot of respects. So I had to step back from that a little bit. That was a big thing. One thing I really like learned from my business coach was one thing that he said that stuck with me was, you're no longer in the cabinet business or closet business. You're in the people business. So your job
mm.
now is find good people and develop them and create a team in order to get to where you want to be. And I quickly realized that at the level we were at that point, it's really unsustainable. It's a little bit of a messy middle where you either got to keep going and pushing, or you got to fall back, and you really can't fall back. I mean, you get to a point where you have to push forward, or you're just going to suffer for a long time. And I
Yes.
was I was sick of suffering.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Alex Hormozy calls it the swamp because it's like you have profit, but then you could coast and be comfortable, but you're going to fall back and sink back down. And you're not going to be able to go on vacations. You're going to be running around ragged and all this stuff. Or you could push through and use that profit to get to $3 million, 4 million, and then you unleash another level of profit that then you could either take it out or reinvest it back in. And I think a lot of people that 1 to 2 million, they get stuck as like the number one salesperson because you can't really scale, right? You can spend 20% of your time doing sales, but then 80% doing other things. In your business, from what I know, you brought on a CSR admin person to help you. I think it's your wife. And then, and then you hired a salesperson. Was it in that order, or how did you like know when to bring people on or do those things to kind of get out of that rat race?
We actually had we so I knew we had to. I was doing all the sales, all the
Yeah.
administrative stuff, all of that. So I knew that was going to be a key thing that we needed. I hired on a salesperson, not last year, but the year before. It was my first kind of administrator and salesperson, and I made some mistakes
Mm,
in that hiring process. And our first go around at that of me letting go didn't really turn out that great. We had a little bit of it was a little bit of a disaster with our first salesperson,
yeah.
and it put me in a bad situation. Um, and I definitely had the initial instinct of like, all right, forget it. This is never going to work. I'm going to go back and do all the sales. which I had to do for a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Get
that
it.
was our first kind of go around with that. That was a rough year in 24. But we kept at it, and I found another um, salesperson, and this time a player superstar.
Mm,
And that really made all the difference for us last year. And I think over the last we've grown between like 40 and 50% over the last every year over the last 3 years.
yeah. So good. I want to hear about some of those mistakes because I think what happens is between 1 and 2 million, you got to hire salespeople, but more importantly, you have to build a sales system in your business. And a lot of time, owners, they can just go in and talk to someone and sell them, right? Like it's just like, dude, I get it. I've been doing this for 10 years. Like, you know, every single nook and cranny, and they're like, okay, I'm going to give this guy my money. But then when you hire someone, they don't have, right? They're not the unicorn and they need some type of like a structure or a system. What were some of the mistakes that you fell into? Maybe it's like the hiring process of bringing on this person, but also like building the sales system in the business. I'm curious like how that went because a lot of people face this issue and they just sink back into, well, the ego. I'm the only guy that can sell this thing, you know, so I got to do. So can you talk to me about that?
Sure. I mean, like, frankly, no system.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was like,
Very
you go with
common.
me, you come with me on some estimates. I'll show you what it looks like. I kind of show you how to present it to people. It was somebody with sales experience, but, you know, just because somebody has sales experience doesn't mean that they are passionate about what you do and can convey that to a client, which is really important, I think. So yeah, and, I mean that's something we've been struggling with is like developing like really good systems for the business. It's a difficult thing for me to do. I think about it every day. I try and we work on it all the time, and I know it's really important, but it's a big pain point for me and a point of failure for sure is not having enough infrastructure for people like that as we bring them on. It's something we're trying to fix now.
Yeah, I think the hardest thing in home service businesses, this is what I faced, was that you have like technicians out in the field, then you have CSRs in the office, and then you have salespeople and you have an owner. And it's like so many places. It's not like a corporate office when you hear these podcasts and like, just write up a system and they're just going to follow it on their computer. Like, my guys can't use a computer. They can barely use a tablet and get the stuff in the jobber that I need. Okay. They're not going, it's like, it's not
Yeah,
that easy with home service business because there's so many moving parts and it's like you could document this stuff and but all of those things I'm sure that's something that you face as well. So you mentioned that you got a salesperson and they weren't the right fit. What were some of those red flags that you learned from and now got the right person? Because I think a lot of people they have that same experience where they do that.
yeah. I mean, I wish I could say that I implemented a great hiring system, but I think I got lucky
Mhm.
uh,
Which is fair.
on,
That's good.
on my second hire. I mean, but we're looking to add another salesperson now. So we're actually looking at things a little bit differently. And we're starting to implement things like the predictive index for personality
Mm.
type
Yes. Yes.
and that kind of thing. So we're trying to implement some of those types of systems and having people as their first kind of barrier to entry, fill out a predictive index and let us know, and answer these questions, and we can kind of actually see their personality type, which I think could be helpful for us.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. I definitely like doing some type of a personality assessment so that it just meshes well in general with how you manage, how they take feedback, and then being able to be coachable. I think for a lot of people listening, what we see with home service business, once you get one good person, they can usually take it and build a system and you can see like, okay, this person's really good. What are they doing? Build a system. Then you bring someone else on and you can kind of plug them into that. It's just getting to that one good person that then you're like, okay, this actually does work. I can see this. So there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, I mean that's the other thing too is like I'm trying to at this point now that we have some really great people and managers in place, step back a bit and let
Mm,
them do their thing. Because I mean, that's the other ego thing. I have people that are a lot better than than me in a lot of other aspects right now. So a great win that we had recently was my install manager uh, found interviewed, included me in the interview, but he handled it and hired an installer without me being involved. That was a
Wow.
huge win. We're trying
Yeah.
to push towards that with our like sales team as well. So definitely trying to step back and empower the people that we have here now to do their thing.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing, you may have heard me say this, is like the hustler has to die and the leader has to be born.
Yeah,
And it's such a hard thing because the identity, like what you mentioned, is like I was a hustler too. I'm up at 6:30 with the technicians, clocking in, clocking out, like all the same stuff, right? And then it's like I used to feel like, well, if I'm not showing up there with them doing those things, then they're not going to trust me or think that I'm as credible. And it's like that whole identity thing. But it's truly because if I need to lead the company and create so much opportunity for them, I have to alleviate that in the business. And it's like a hard thing because, like, I'm not better than you guys. Trust me. Like, I'm just a coach. I'm trying to do the best that I can. Did you feel those things?
totally.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
like I hate not being the first person here and the last person to leave. Like it really bothers me.
Yeah.
And I like to be the one doing the work. Like I like to lead by example. I kind of look
Mm.
at it that way. So it definitely was a huge mindset shift
Yeah.
to stop doing that and kind of remove myself a little bit. It's hard to wrap your head around it. I feel like as you're going through it, but definitely the right thing to do. It's just difficult.
Yeah, definitely. And it's in any business, like even in my business, it feels the same thing. Home service, I feel like there's a little bit like your guy, it's your guys, like they're like, come on, dude, like, come on, man. Like, what are you, you're just getting soft on us? Like there's a little bit of that too. So
Totally. And like I'm always like I always pride myself on like I'm the hardest working person here.
yeah.
No one works harder than me.
Yes.
So and even though I still am, and I do a lot, but it's just behind the scenes. It's just hard.
Yeah, the way that I explain it to my team, and maybe this is a good framework for a lot of people, is like in football, there's people that are on the field, and that is a hard job to be the quarterback, the wide receiver, the running back, and it's hard. Then there's the coach on the sideline, and that is a really hard job as well. But they can't strap on the helmet and go out and run the play. They got to be on the sideline, and they have sleepless nights. They're game planning, they're doing all the stuff. And then there's the owner, that actually owns it, who's in the box, who's not even involved in any of this stuff. And there's these three different layers that it's like they're all hard. It's just a different type of hard. I'm not getting hit by a linebacker. I'm on the sideline and I can't do anything about it. you know.
That's a great analogy. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to talk about, because I would be remiss if I didn't mention about content for your business in particular, of creating content, because it's funny, you're good at it and you have a good following on Instagram. And the reason I say it's funny is because it's like rough and gruff, artisans, but then it's like we have these beautiful things and people like them and interact on social media. So can you share a little bit about, because this was even before working with us, of like you had this whole game plan of what you were doing. Can you talk about like content, how that's what you do, how that's helped you build credibility for your business, get leads, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so I mean, we were primarily using Instagram for a while, even before we met, and um, we just found that we were getting a lot of interest, and so we kind of doubled down on it and started posting a ton and interacting with people there, and we found it to be a great way to get work. It was kind of like I noticed, we would post something, somebody would see it and comment on it, and then they would become a customer. Then they would post, we
Yeah.
would post the project we did for them, and they would say thank you so much. And then so it was kind of like a little bit of a kind of like a little machine
Yes.
on Instagram that we built, and yeah, we got a ton of work from it. It was I didn't put a lot of thought into content necessarily. We were just kind of doing whatever, but these days we're putting a lot of thought into it. One of my goals for this year is to hire finally like a full time like social media manager person.
Mm.
That's what we're looking to do this year.
I love it. And the content that you are creating is like before and afters or just tours of the final product, that type of stuff.
We were just posting before and afters,
Okay.
but I feel like we're pivoting more now towards trying to tell our personal story. We have a big audience, so we're trying to lean more into telling people who we are and what we do, and kind of taking them along in our shop, and sharing a little bit of our story more than we have been in the past. I see a lot more value in that and interest, frankly. I think a lot people are a lot more interested in that aspect.
Definitely. I think a lot of home service businesses, they think before and after, and which is fine, right? You're showing your work and people are like, oh, this looks nice. This looks nice. But I think the hidden part to a lot of it is the credibility and trust that you can build before they even reach out and they know about you. That part is invaluable, and like AI cannot replicate that. ChatGPT, it's like the true essence of the business, truly like branding and telling people the story. And I think a lot of people miss that. And it doesn't have to be this whole glitz and glamour. Like I think one of the videos was you going through your new shop, and it was literally
Yeah,
just like a video, right? And like so much engagement, and like people like, wow, right? That was a big deal, right?
yeah, and I think it's because people like people see that we're a local business and we're real and we work hard and they like respect that and that video you're talking about, it was just like we're moving, we moved into a new shop, we're growing, we're successful, and it's emotional. So
Yes.
people respond to it like they're like, this is exciting, and they feel the excitement, and it's genuine because I'm excited,
Yes.
everybody that works here is excited, we're a growing company, and the more of that we share with people, the better, I feel like.
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the ways to take from what I know about your business, and I'm curious to get your thoughts, to take the content and then maybe to add a lot more opportunity to generate leads on top of it was this estimate calculator.
Yeah.
Yes. So can you tell us a little bit about the estimate calculator and then how it kind of like pairs perfectly with they see your stuff and they want to get a price quote for it and what that looks like?
Yeah, so that's something that we implemented last year, and you guys helped us with it.
Yeah.
And so I feel like the way things are headed, um, and in line with being open and transparent and honest with our customers on social media and all that kind of content. Like the other part of that is like full transparency about how much stuff costs and what exactly that looks like. And we were like, the same as everybody else previously, where we kept it a little close to our chest, that little bit of like
Yeah.
phantom mindset, like, oh, if they know our prices, then maybe they'll be, but realized that that was kind of silly. The one thing people really want to know is how much does this cost? And
Mm.
some people think it's, you know, have no idea, have
Yeah.
absolutely no idea how much it costs. So we implemented a pricing calculator, which is just a ballpark calculator on our website, and we get a ton of people that fill it out. And for a lot of people, for a large majority of them, our product is probably more than what they want to spend. But it helps us in a lot of ways because it's good for them as well. They don't waste their time calling us if we're way more than what their budget is. It saves us from having to interact with them. Not that we don't like interacting with
Yeah.
people. There's only so many hours in the day, and we want to talk to people that will be clients and the people that we can help avoid
Exactly.
people we can't. Right.
Yeah.
So it's really been a bit of a like, I don't, I guess gateway isn't the word, but like a little bit of a, you
Buffer. It's
know,
like a buffer to
buffer.
lead quality. Is this the right fit for you? Is this the right fit for us? Yeah.
Exactly. So, yeah, it's been awesome.
Yeah. I think from what I know about your numbers, now you work with one of our consultants, Leslie, so am not too intimate with the data, but from what I've seen on your reports, it's like that has been a big catalyst of lead gen in general. And then to your point, in the future, people are going to be researching you, not just going to Google and typing in, custom closets near me. They're going to be exploring all these different things. Let me go look at the before and after pictures. Oh, here's a little bit about the company. Then they go to their website. Oh, I can get an estimate right here. Like that whole customer journey is shifting from what it used to be. And you're on the forefront of that, which is really, really awesome. I don't know if you heard me talk about this agentic booking thing, but basically, like, right now you can go on Google and ask it for a good Italian restaurant, and when they have the next availability, like Friday at 5 p.m., and it's going to go on OpenTable and Resi and find the information for you and then go back and tell you like this restaurant's available at this time. Like you kind of already have the bones of like what's a credible company, how much is it actually going to cost me, and it can actually like it could interface with all of these different things that you have and give these people an answer. So you're kind of already there with a lot of this stuff, which is awesome. It's pretty crazy
Wow.
to say, to think about this, but it's pretty cool. All right, so you were running the business, you were doing all this stuff. You hired your wife, right, as a CSR admin type of role. So then that alleviates that. You hired a salesperson, double round two. Was there anything else that like helped alleviate the growth, like this pinch of like 1.3 that kind of got you to the next level? Was there anything?
I mean, really, it's just the people that we brought on, a hundred
Yeah,
percent. So finding people that were, you know, interested in like working, they're not just a job, but working for us, I
yeah,
think was a big deal. I definitely think culture is huge. And I started paying a lot of attention to that. And I think, what we have now, um, everyone that works here feels like we have something special
mm,
and it's a special thing to be a part of. And we try to foster that and really talk about what our values are and what we're about and who we are. And like you said about once you have a really good person, I think it's like that for a team too. It's like it's self-policing.
yes,
So if someone comes in and they're not quite right and don't really align with who we are, um, the team is quick to say, hey,
yes.
they gotta go.
Yeah. Dan Sullivan, he wrote the book Who Not How. He has this saying, self-managing company, where it's like you build such a strong culture that it manages itself. And like the people are going to stick out like a sore thumb. When people tell me like, yeah, I have a great team, what are some ways that you're doing to foster the culture and the self-managing? Like some people do performance pay, on different things. Other people do like weekly one-to-ones with big rocks and different goals. Is there anything in particular that you've done that's like attract these good people, but then also like let them know like you belong here and this is what we're building towards?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're getting into performance pay this year. It's kind of difficult
Yeah.
for us to figure out exactly how to do that, but we're trying to tie all that into gross profit and having everyone involved in those numbers and in that gross profit conversation. It's been tough with everything we have going on to kind of
Sure.
implement that, and I've been talking about it for probably a year, but we're hoping that this year we can kind of get that going. We do have programs where we'll give them money for reviews and things like that to kind of foster that. But we have a meeting. We have a lot of meetings, which was another thing that was kind of weird to me. I always thought meetings were like, oh, who wants to have a
Yeah. I don't
meeting?
want to be
It's
corporate, too
Yeah,
corporate.
totally. Like these are ridiculous. I don't and like now we have meetings all the time, and
Yeah.
I have to admit they're helpful,
Yeah.
and it's a good thing. Um, so kind of weird for a blue collar company and feels a little weird to me sometimes still, but that's really important. And we sit down and we for instance on Monday morning we sit down as a team, have some donuts, and we talk about the projects we did last week, what went wrong, what went right, if something went wrong, what we can do better.
Mm,
And we ask all of especially like the installers and the guys in the shop, like, hey, like what went wrong, and if they tell us what went wrong, like tell us like what can we do better, and we try to give them a voice, and I try to create the vibe of um, everybody, where we can all learn from each other, and we're all team members, and we're all in this together. And I kind of came up with this like kind of like saying for us is like we're building a company for us and by us. It's not me. It's not somebody other people individually. This is all for us together, and we're all gonna prosper from it together.
yeah. I like that. The job costing thing. So, like in the remodel space, a lot of people job cost and they give their private project manager some type of like bonus if the job costing is the gross profit under a certain amount. It's hard when there's like also manufacturing involved in that, and like because you do it the whole thing. So there's like so many parts that you can't dock this guy when it's like your machine went down, right? Something. Like you didn't get this done in time.
So what we came up with, and I think what we're going to try to implement is kind of create a pool for the month.
Oh, it's
So
good.
so our new plan is to look at every project, and if GP is above goal, that goes into a pot,
Yeah,
and
it's
if it's
good.
below goal, it comes out, right? So that at the end of the month, we see what we have and where we're at, and we share that, we share that amongst everybody. That's what we kind of settled on because the
Yeah.
individual job thing was super complicated.
Yeah, and it's hard because like you're in that sweet spot where it's not like huge, that's not like one job a month or something, but it's also like not so small that it's can't micro. So it's like the pot thing makes a lot of sense. And then it's guys that's like each one they can still fight for, but it's not a direct hit on each thing.
And what we're hoping, I'll let you know how it goes because
Yeah,
we
yeah,
haven't
yeah.
really implemented it yet. But what we're hoping is that this will encourage, like everybody, we have guys with more experience and guys with less experience. And we have teams that are like, way more experienced and faster and have better skill sets
Yeah.
that they've developed over the years. So we're hoping that, since they're all invested in the pool,
Yes.
that, if the lesser experienced team isn't quite getting something right, the more experienced team will be like, "Hey guys, I want to get a bonus this month. Like, let me show you how to do it." So that's kind of what we're
Yeah.
hoping for. We'll see.
One thing I would recommend, because we did this at my home service business with the customer service representatives, we would set a goal for how many jobs that we booked. And the first month I ran it, I did it on each individual person's jobs book. But then it was like, well, then I talked to this person and they called back, like, I want credit for this and the whole thing. So what I did
Right.
was every day I would go in on the whiteboard and write what our goal was to get that many jobs. And then every day I would track it. So then like every day everyone's looking at this number. So like for you, if you have like a place where they clock in or clock out, if you have like a goal board and then it's like, this is the number and they know how close they are, then it will
Yeah.
create like a little camaraderie, like what you're saying, so that they know the number. It's like a scoreboard, it's like, oh no, this is
I
where we're
like
at.
it. Yeah, we could actually have we could probably put the actual number, like
That's what I'm
we're
saying.
1,000 over, or
Yeah.
and they can watch it go up or go down.
That's what I'm saying, because then it's like, hey guys, just so you know, we're only like a certain amount of this from this. And like, we're just waiting on this guy right here to get his
Yeah.
stuff. It's like, come on, dude. So it
It's going to
creates,
take some time, but that's hopefully we'll get that rolling this year, and,
yeah.
and we'll see what happens.
I like it. It's like a score. It's like a nice scoreboard thing that puts it in front of people. And then the weekly meeting, you would be surprised. A lot of businesses, they might get like their technicians together or like their salespeople together, but not as like a company. And I think even if it's not weekly, if it's monthly, if you get everyone together and just recognize a couple people for good reviews and talk about what we're doing as a company and the vision, that goes a long way. Because if you don't tell people, then they just have it in their mind that a million things are going on. They don't know what's going on. And I think it's a good call out. Like get some donuts, have people together, and just like, even if it's 10 or 15 minutes, like give everyone the space to be able to say your vision out loud. So that's really good that you're doing that.
Yeah, I think it gives people ownership, and I think connecting everybody is really important because we have designers that design stuff. We have an engineer that kind of does things, and they're not necessarily they don't necessarily know exactly what's happening in the field. So to have those people in the same room and
Exactly.
the technician there, the installer there, saying, "Hey, like this isn't going together the way you think it is." We can solve those problems quickly, and I think once a week is minimum. I would do it more if we could.
Yeah. It reminds me, we used to, so our technicians, we had 28 technicians, 4 CSRs. So they used to butt heads a lot, the customer service reps technicians. So what we did was we had the CSRs go out on a job, run a job with them so that they
Mhm.
could experience like, you got to go
Yeah,
into a home and do all these things and they could just have an appreciation. And then we had the technicians sit in the office for the first 6 hours and try to answer these calls. And they're like, like they could not sit still. Like what? Like, and then they had a new appreciation for what everyone does and how we all work together, and they stopped complaining and bickering.
that's a
But
great idea.
yeah, it's really good when you have all these, because there's so many moving parts in home service businesses, and no one knows what the person actually goes through. They just get a call from someone or something, and they get frustrated.
Yeah,
So it works good. Cool. Well, I obviously we love working with you. If we could duplicate you for all of our clients, it would be amazing, because one of the unique things about you and working with you is that you have the trades, blue collar artisan, but you've, built a great business and been able to buy back your time and truly start leading the company, which a lot of people get stuck, and you've recognized that you got to go to the other things. So really great work on that. And I just want to give you a public shout out on that, it's hard, like you don't get noticed on those things. People don't know fully, but I know. And I want to say, like, you're doing a great job. So thank you so much for being a client of ours, and you're doing really good stuff.
Thanks, Phil. Yeah, I mean, and honestly, like we realized, besides everything we've talked about, it's really, one of the key things for us is the partnerships that we have. The partnership we've had with you has really been really important to us and like instrumental. So it's like, the people we buy machines from, the people we buy materials from, um, Flash, my business coach, all of that kind of, is important. And, I was always a guy that did everything himself and was really reluctant to ask for help.
Mm,
Still have a little bit of that in me. So it's, I think a lot of guys like me are like that, where it's hard to like you like ask for help and admit you don't know anything, and
yeah.
admit you need somebody to help you. I was just because I could just do everything myself.
Yeah.
I've always done it myself, and realizing that I couldn't, and I needed Flash to help
Yeah.
me. Without you guys, we wouldn't have gotten to where we are, and I needed my material suppliers to be to help us out, and I needed help from a business coach to learn some things. That was all really big. So it's really letting go of your ego and asking for help is really, I'd say, the most important thing.
Yeah. I think it's the who, not how mindset of like, who can help me with this? I'm sure everyone can figure it out. We're all smart, but like, is their time best spent doing that? And then one thing that you do a great job of, and I would say a lot of people should strive for, is that instead of trying to select vendors, you should just select partners and treat them as if they're like partners and not vendors. Because when you treat people not like vendors, but like partners, you really feel that way of like, they feel that it's a different relationship, and you get the better out of them. You know what I'm saying? By like treating them the right way. And I think that's kind of what you're saying.
For sure. I mean, it's building like just like you want to build relationships with your customers, you want to build relationships with your partners. I mean, you guys are like part of our company at this point.
Yep.
So like there is no us without you. You like we have a relationship. We're
Yep.
growing together. We're friends. Like so, building that relationship. And with Leslie, I mean, we just have it's really important. The same thing with our vendors. It's building relationships with them, and the same thing you want to do with your customers, you do with all the people that can help you.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Kevin, thanks so much for joining us. Where should people go, to learn about legacy? If they are listening to this, they're in Philadelphia and they need a closet or something.
Sure, you can go to legacywardrobes.com, fill out our price guide, see how much it
Yeah.
costs.
There you go. All right. Thanks, Kevin.